sentimentality. And I wonder how you avoid that danger. Did you have conversations with the director? Did you rehearse a lot?
Good evening. and thank you for coming out to see our movie some months after it first aired. It's great to see an audience 6 months after the event who are interested in seeing it again or for the first time. And I wish that Hugh and James Mangold, our director, were here because you would enjoy their company very much. As it is, you have me. I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be here. And of course, I also wish that you could have the pleasure and thrill of meeting Daphne Keane, because she is something quite extraordinary. Yes, the director and I talked before I saw the line of script, and I worked with James very briefly in the past, and he set me up for the fact that I should put aside all memory that I had of what shooting X-Men movies had been like, because he was determined that there was going to be something different about Logan. And although I think he was nameless at that time. And Hugh was already on board, and over the, believe it or not, 17 years we have been making X-Men and Wolverine. He has become a dear, dear friend. So we, James and Hugh and myself, became very much involved with protecting the style of the movie, because it was going to be untypical of superhero movies, and certainly in the standard that X-Men and Wolverine had established. But in James Mangold, we had a director who not only had a clear and very potent vision of what he wanted Logan to be like, he is also that rare creature, and it is a little rare, a director who could know exactly what he wanted, and yet when the camera rolled, he was happy to set the actors free. That we were liberated, in fact, in some respects, more liberated than if he had not been a man with such a vision of what he wanted. And every day that we filmed, the opening scene, the long scene between Hugh and myself in the tank, I think 2.5 days we were on that scene, and then some little reshoots later. Very quickly, James tuned into certainly the approach that I felt I should take, which was one of kind of wacky irreverence to begin with, then turning into something much more serious and desperate. And he would say, what you did there and there and there, do more of that, because that's working really well. So it was a collaboration with a very open-minded, generous man with a vision.
When you're preparing for a role like that, how do you prepare? I was fascinated that copy said that you spoke before you saw the script. Then when you get the script, how do you prepare? You said something the other day which I thought was fascinating about what you learned at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School in going through a text. And that was extraordinary. And maybe you can tell the audience that and say, tell us how you apply that to a film.
Yes, I would love to. That was a very long explanation of the analysis that the director of my acting school, Bristol Vic Theatre School, and his name was Duncan Ross, who went on to have a great career in the United States. He ran the Seattle Rep for many years. He had devised, largely based on the work Stanislavski, the Russian director and teacher, of reading a script. He taught us how to read and how to analyze and examine a script so that we took from it all of the essence of what a writer had intended. And it was, I will shorten the version I told for you the other night because we had very much longer. But you would read the play multiple times, but each time for just one reason. So the first time you would read it for time. When is this story happening? What century, what year, what time of year, what day, what hour, what minute? So that you would put together, and this is not through reading stage directions and not through knowing when the play was written, but just reading the language of the dialogue. Then you would read it again for place. Where does it happen? Exactly where does it happen? And then rather eccentrically, we would read it for weather. Bill Ross felt that the weather always had a big impact on all of us. And so we would read for climate conditions. And then another read, that's three, a fourth read, what does the character say? And all this led to pages and pages of notes, all of which, all my notebooks, I found less than a month ago. And my life consists of unopened boxes because I moved around so much. And I opened this box and there they were, all my notebooks from 1957, 1958. We would then read it for what does the character you are playing say about himself? Write everything down. What do other people say about him? This is another read, when he is present. What do people say about him when he is absent? And as a result of all those readings, you would build a sense of what the play and the role contained, but over the process of reading, it became internalized, so that you were literally absorbing the play. Very often I found at that time, I never actually had to sit down and learn the play, because I'd already learned it through these multiple readings, at least learned the role. So that lay behind, but he also said to us at the time, a point will come in your careers, if you're lucky and you're working, you won't do this. You won't need to do it because you will do it instinctively. And that's exactly what has happened. But I've always been fascinated by one aspect. I had no education. I left school at 15. Not because I dropped out, but because my education was over. So I grew up non-academic. But I became fascinated by the research that could lie behind certain roles. There's barely a play that doesn't require you to study something different. And I've always enjoyed that, be it attending at very close quarters a full post-mortem, which I did once for a character who was himself an anatomist, and sitting in Joseph Conrad's chair, where he wrote most of his films. There are certain privileges that can attach themselves to being a well-known actor. People who let you do things that the general public are not allowed to do. Well, to say, we're about to do a post-mortem, would you like to be a witness?
So when you go through this script, do you make notes on it? Do you read it multiple times in the same way?
I do read and read, especially if it's brand new, yeah. But even something that is very familiar, there are certain roles I played that I played several times in different productions because I wasn't done with them. And it's one of the great things about the theatre, and especially if you do classical work, that you can return, not just to the writer, but to the character again and again and again. And in this case, I had been down this road that Charles is going down several times in the last 15 years, 20 years that I've done, studying aging, Alzheimer's, physical and mental deterioration that can attach itself to the elderly, deterioration due to drugs, deterioration due to alcohol. Those are some of the roles that I've played. Not glamorous and certainly not funny. I enjoy that process immensely, then bringing that back in front of the camera.
Were you hesitant to take this role again? Or I think, is it the 7th time?
Yeah, this was, I think, my 7th appearance as Charles. One of them was very, very brief. And of course, I was vaporized by Jean Grey, which was very uncomfortable. I don't recommend it. It was actually. What they did to me was, yeah, they set up a blaster because they wanted my face to be subject to the stuff that Jean Grey was pounding at me, and so they set up a huge nozzle at the end of I don't know how they did it, some generator that was generating strong wind, and they held the nozzle about this far away from my face while the camera did a close-up. So my face was doing this, and I remember the director saying to me, "Open your eyes! Don't close your eyes!" Unpleasant. However, not only did I not die, but I actually came back to life in that movie. And then at the end of, I think, Days of Future Past, you saw the first moments of Magneto and Charles Xavier and the body of Logan being devoured by creatures. But obviously it turned out happily, because here we still, well, some of us, meaning Hugh and myself, are the only ones who are left.
The last one for you, right?
Well, I had no thought of that. I was aware Hugh was on record of having said, "This will be my last appearance as Wolverine." I saw no reason to make a statement like that. I was still enjoying the role, and you know, we have new people coming in all the time, and terrific people, including young and very gorgeous James McAvoy, who plays the young one. I told him it's the most flattering thing that's ever happened when James was cast as the young Charles. And yet something happened, and it all came to a head at the Berlin Film Festival, where I think you and I saw the film for the first time with an audience, not just a screening room, but a big theater. And Hugh and I were sitting side by side, and James Mangold was on the other side of Hugh, and Sunny, my wife, was sitting on my right-hand side. And I, as I had just now, actually, from the projection room, I watched the last 20 minutes of the movie, and everything that I felt in that Berlin cinema, I felt again just now, how very emotional it made me feel. And I was, there were tears in my eyes, but I didn't, want to show any of this. And then I saw Hugh's hand come up and go. And I thought, damn it, if Hugh Jackman can wipe away a tear, then so can I. And shortly after that, around the scene when he and Laura Daphne Keane are having their final conversation, I felt a hand reach over and take mine, and it was Hugh's hand. And he squeezed my hand, and we held hands for the rest of the movie, including all the way through the credits as well. But the credits here are so long as they are with movies like this, that as we sat there holding hands, I thought there can be no better way to say au revoir to this franchise than what I've just witnessed for the last 2.25 hours. I love Charles's role in this movie, and he ends badly, but not unhappily. He ends in the arms of the man that he's cared for all of these years. And I thought, yep, I'm going to join Hugh. And the next morning there was a press conference after the movie, and I was asked about this, and I said, actually, I can tell you now for the first time, I'm finished too. I'm done with this, and it feels entirely appropriate. It doesn't mean to say there have not been murmurs of something else, but I can't see it quite making sense.
Well, it's interesting. This is 17 years of your life, but I think initially you turned the role down.
Yeah, I did turn it down because it was at a time when I was struggling with the legacy of Star Trek: The Next Generation, which was a great experience for me. It changed every corner of my life. Nothing was untouched by coming to Hollywood in 1987, something I'd never planned to do. I had no ambitions to be here and to be doing the kind of work that I've done in recent years. But flukes, complete random chances led me onto a platform in Royce Hall at UCLA one night, reading extracts of drama to illustrate a professor's lecture, and signed up for the course of lectures was one of the producers of Star Trek: The Next Generation, who allegedly turned to his wife. She swore it was true at some point during this academic evening, and he said, "We found the captain." And everything changed from that moment on. But I found in time that there was a downside to that kind of notoriety. I mean, given that unless you went to the Royal Shakespeare Company or you watched obscure drama on BBC Two, you had no idea who Patrick Stewart was. And in the space of a few months, all of that changed when Next Generation, the TV series, came out. And I couldn't believe it at first, and then I gradually, of course, had to accept it. Having been told by my agent, friends who worked in the industry, I had a few friends here who all said to me, "You don't have to worry at all about taking on this job because it's not going to make it. You will Everybody in Hollywood," which bears out William Goldman's famous comment that in Hollywood nobody knows anything about anything. And they all said, "You'll be lucky to make it through the first season. You cannot revive an iconic series like the original Star Trek." Well, 7 years later, another further 5 or 6 years with 4 movies, they were all proved to be somewhat wrong. But there was a downside to it, which was that I became so identified with that character. The kind of work I wanted to go on and do was not coming my way. Until one day a director I'd been campaigning to meet because there was a role in a movie he was directing I wanted very badly. And he said to me, "Look, you know, we talked, it was very pleasant," and he said, "You're great, I love what you do, you're a terrific actor, but why would I want Jean-Luc Picard in my movie?" It was hurtful, it was painful. And so when this offer of yet another, this time comic book, fantasy franchise came up, I thought, I have already one albatross around my neck. Why would I take a second? So I turned it down. And then Brian Singer took me out to lunch. Smooth talking.
What did he say to change your mind?
Well, he told me how different the experience would be from the experience I'd had on Next Generation, of which he was a fan, by the way, and that he had a strong conviction that the kind of films that he wanted to make, because at that point there was only just one X-Men movie, though there were many indications that it had a potential for a little more. Nobody had dreamed that it would become the immense franchise that it is now, with multiple casts and so forth. And I would say on the whole, Brian was right, that if anything, being in X-Men helped to unravel some of the restrictions that had wrapped around me after Star Trek.
A last question for me then in terms of yours. Was it a difficult shoot? I know you shot in unbelievable heat.
Louisiana. I had never been in the Deep South before, and I was a little uneasy about it to begin with, but very quickly found that it was a delightful place with most delightful people. that I met everywhere, both in rural Louisiana as well as in New Orleans. You hear I learned to say that. And yes, but then we moved up to northern Louisiana to the Mississippi border. We were based in Natchez, and the heat became intense and the humidity. And of course, Daphne and Hugh and myself, we were stuck in that nasty old truck for day after day after day, shooting all the interiors of that, and driving up and down and up and down the highway. It was a little uncomfortable. But we had fun. We couldn't get out of the vehicle because there were cameras and there was structures lashed all the way around the truck. So there was no exit for us. And we try and open the windows and find that they didn't work. And so we had to entertain ourselves, and for days and days, Hugh and Daphne and myself, we sang songs, we played games, we played word games, we did drawings, we did all kinds of caricatures and things. And she's a remarkable child, and we had a lot of fun.
Good. Questions from the audience? Yes. Just speak loud and not happy. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Stewert, I guess as a comic nerd and a Shakespeare, I'm kind of curious, is there a Shakespearean role you haven't had a chance to play yet that you would love to play?
Oh, I love that. Is there a Shakespeare role that you haven't played that you would love to?
Oh, there are several, but I never will, because I'm now just maybe a little too mature for these roles. I never played Hamlet. I never played Romeo, which I really wanted. I never played Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing. I never played Orlando in As You Like It. I was, as a teacher said to me on my final night at school, at acting school, after the final school, the presentation performances we gave for agents and managers, and everybody, it seemed, in my year had got somebody or a job, and I had nothing at all. I was sitting alone in the theater looking at the stage thinking, well, that's it, it's over. You know, I've been taught for 2 years, and now I have nothing to do. And one of the teachers came out and said, why are you sitting out here? Why aren't you in the party? And I said, I'm not feeling great. And he said, oh, I know what's going on. Look, can I speak frankly? By the way, when anybody says that to you, do say no. It doesn't lead to anything great. And he said, it's going to be very hard for you for the next 20 years. I was 19. He said, you're a character actor, you're not a juvenile, you'll never be a juvenile. And so it's going to be a bit of a struggle, but you know, it will come around in the end. And, he was wrong. It didn't turn out quite like that, largely because I went and bought myself, had made the most expensive hairpiece I spent everything I had on this thing. And as a result, I used to sell myself to regional theater directors as 2 actors for the price of 1. And it worked again and again. They got it. Oh my Lord, we have a juvenile and we have a character actor. All in the same person. And he has his own hairpiece. I used to wear the hairpiece to auditions. And then I would take it, usually you do 2 pieces in an audition. I would wear the hairpiece, then I would take it off while I was telling them what the second piece was that I would do. And I did one afternoon audition for Laurence Olivier at the National Theatre, which he was running in those days. And I was rather cheeky and began my audition with a soliloquy from Henry V, which of course had been one of his most famous roles. And then, I can't remember what the second role was, but as I was talking to him, I was easing the thing off my head, and I'm clipping at the back all the time while I talked to him, and then I put it down by the floor. And I said, I prepared myself to do my second piece, and he said, do it again. And I said, I'm sorry, do you want me to do the Henry V again? No. Put it on and take it off. This really happened. So I did, and I put it on, and I took it off, and he said, marvelous. And that was my audition. I never got to do the second piece. And as years went by, and I used to go and see him doing performance after performance, because he was known to be a thief. He would steal from anybody. I had good ideas, and I waited for the moment when he would do this. Well, you never actually happened. And he never employed me.
Great question. Next question. Yes, down here. Oh, wow.
Hello, Sir Fred. It's two questions. One, what movie have you done which you would love to have done a sequel to, or would still love to play that character again? And two, what would be your number one tip for beginning actors?
So 2 questions. One is there any movie you've done where you would like to do a sequel we haven't? And secondly, one tip for the actors in the audience.
I can't think there's anything that I've done that I felt needed a sequel to it.
What do you would like to play?
Like to have done. Well, I just finished a movie, a rather novel experience for me, in which I play a musician, a concert pianist, not real, a fictional character, but world famous concert pianist who loses his self-confidence, cannot play, loses the feeling for it. And so the story is about that and how he gets it back and what other people do for him. It's an interesting movie. And I enjoyed the piano playing so much. It gave me so much terrific satisfaction. I would have just liked to have done a movie about him playing Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Schubert. That would have been fun, but I don't think it would have attracted many people. Well, one piece of advice, it took me years and years and years to learn this, and I will tell you something else. The prince of my drama school said to me shortly before I graduated, and it was, and he was being helpful. He was he was always positive in his comments, but he gave me a pretty rigorous talking to. But he ended up by saying to me, Patrick, you must understand, you will never achieve success by insuring against failure. I knew exactly what he meant. And I thought I knew what he meant for years and years and years, but I didn't really. Ultimately, I did. So my word of advice was, you have to be fearless. You have to be so courageous and brave and listen to your instincts. Oh yeah, listen to other people, but listen objectively to other people. But the voice that you hear inside you saying, I know how this should be, that's what you have to listen to, because there's nobody else in the world like you. Nobody. And that's what will interest people. It will be the uniqueness of you. But so often we soften and blend and adjust and try to fit in and, you know, all of that. But that is ensuring against failure, which Duncan Ross pointed out to me. So I think, God, it takes enough courage anyway just to walk on stage sometimes, but to find the internal courage that will drive you forward, I think is everything.
There's a question. Yes, that's down there in the glasses.
You mentioned your experience with Bryan Singer sweet-talking you into the role. Was Ian McKellen already cast, and did he use either of your participation to sell it to the other one? So I'm like, we all know that you guys are great friends now. Was that a selling point for you, or was that?
By what you don't know that I found out the other day, somebody's written a 5,000-word disquisition on their relationship. I would love to read.
I look forward to reading that.
Yeah.
So do I. It's an academic study of our friendship. I don't recall, but I think not. I don't even think that any other cast members, though there must have been in mine, were mentioned to me. It was the reasons that I gave earlier that I changed my mind about that. But I will be forever grateful to Brian that he brought Ian and myself together, because I'd known him a little for many years. I'd worked with him once before on a Tom Stoppard play with the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I liked him. I was actually intimidated by him. He was brilliant. Ian McKellen was brilliant before he left Cambridge University. People were already talking about him while he was still a student. And he was so talented and so smart and original and incredibly good looking, and none of which I was. And I just thought, well, that's where he is, and I can just, admire and leave it at that. And then suddenly we are in adjoining trailers in Toronto making this movie. And of course, on movies like this, you spend far more time waiting to work than actually working, and we would hang out in his trailer or mine and drink tea, coffee, and as the day wore on, maybe something else. And we found we had a huge amount in common. We're both Northerners, although he's a Lancastrian and I'm a Yorkshireman. And we had a history, a long history from childhood of a love of Shakespeare and of performing Shakespeare, and of an interest in theatre and an interest in the cinema. And we just became deeply fond. I love him very, very much, and don't see him often enough. He's just closed. Less than a week ago, he closed a 6-week run as King Lear at the Chichester Festival Theatre, which unfortunately we couldn't see. Was there a second part?
No, we'll take a couple more questions. One more, let's have a brief. I've asked, we've had one from you, so yes, the person. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What's it like to work with William Shatner?
What was it like to work with William Shatner?
It was mostly fun.
It's the word mostly that's so fascinating.
Isn't that what life is like? Nothing is ever just one thing. I enjoyed working with Bill very much, and we had a good time. We laughed a lot together, and he's a funny, cool guy. It was a little awkward because he had made very negative comments about Next Generation. Never had seen it in the early days of my show, and that didn't warm us towards him particularly in Next Generation. But all of that passed away, and then he finally came and he did our first movie with me, and that was very pleasant.
I think that's it, right? Can we take
It
one
is.
more?
Sure.
Okay, one last question. Yes, the lady down here.
You talked about X-Men and Star Trek being some of your longest roles. I was wondering what you did to stay motivated to not fall into complacency.
You mean during those roles?
Yeah.
What did you do to in these long periods of time, to not sort of become complacent in the role?
I can't answer the question because I don't know what that feels like. Complacency has never been part of my relationship to the job that I do. On the contrary, I am still thrilled and a little bit disconcerted by the fact that I've worked all these years and the work that I can still find to do. I love it so much. I love it even more now than I ever have done in my career. I'm more interested in the work and fascinated by the choices that one has available. And I mean, the moment I feel that 1 inch of complacency, I'll be gone.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.